Flores and Sanchez. We'll do the custodial shorthand. Yeah, we'll figure that out. I know it's needs help in the kitchen. Okay. Alright, looking forward to next Tuesday. Side Boom Tuesday. Thanks, see you, Capricorn.
I don't spell fingers, I just write numbers. You got 5 points. Something's inside me. Let's just see. It's not you, let's see. Play fair. Oh yeah, that's desperation. It smells like an old tennis ball. In 2 days, I was the opposite twice. It was I was out. It's a classic story. So my ignorance wakes up before you fucking son. You could always say what you got your piece. It's good, isn't it? We'll always forget to remember how to drink ski. It ain't over yet. It's not over till it's over. It's way too pedestrian. You don't say it's a new superhero. Sir? Good morning, sir. Can I ask you a question? It's not our surveillance.
If it's not on video cameras, they all work. That's what you should do.
No, it's not our phones. Do you have anyone who monitors the calls?
The way it's all recorded is the view.
Should be random chickens.
Yes, and we do.
Żeby kontynuować atak, Andrzej. No teraz... No. Proszę? Nie, jesteśmy w dupie jak teraz.
Yep, waste my freedom. I bring my own cup and stuff now. Why didn't you call sooner? Awesome, separate the way.
Pyk. No i dobra, oni nie mają ekspansji. Więc możemy zwyczajnie zaeksportować.
You see, I told you about the working so close. Our kids are Massachusetts and Florida because it's the only way in fucking Florida. All the girls to New York, but they never visit. You guys want to see this? Yeah. Alright. I got the wax from Melting Crayons and I went to the picture saying, we pray to him for protection and strength and justice for us and for Bailey. Consideration for St. Anthony Grecians. You know, all the saints had like stage for the people of that. Because, you know, the practitioners don't want the saints worshiping them. What do you guys name it? Wow. Do you really like movie? Catholic? It's Catholic blood. But my ears are giant.
Tak.
Yeah, but do you believe in like spells and that? Getting two girls in the kitchen, and I love that. What if I did? So the ass backwards friend. Laura went in there and told that bitch what she was saying.
Choinkę, kochanie, ustawiasz?
No po co mamy choinkę, jeśli nie świeci?
No właśnie.
No, samo nie wiem, czy klapki zostały.
Co kochanie zrobiłeś? Bardzo się cieszę. Kochanie. Proszę.
No, Jani. Tak się wstydzisz? Przytulaska przed Andrzejem?
Tak, wstydzę się. Kochanie, moglibyśmy uprawiać seks, by to nie ruszyło.
Właśnie. Ciekawe, w którą stronę?
Mam iść w rocze? W rocze bejne?
Tylko tak, żeby się nie seksiły.
Nie, ja pójdę w ten. W Mutale, Andrzej. No i dobra. Co, nie lecimy ich dalej? Lecimy ich, Andrzej. Potem możesz mi to na kołczyk na dole, Andrzej.
One musisz mi coś kupić. Inne końcówki do cupcake'ów, do dekoracji. Uważaj.
Where's some hungry for dinner? Where's this supposed to keep it?
Co on tam ma? Możemy to... Znaczy, nie możemy tego rozwalić. Ojej. Z tej minuty nie wkurwia. Dobra. Przechodzę na swarm pusty. Ile masz minerałów, tak? Azu to mam pełno, ale... Tak. Overlordy muszą mi się tylko skończyć zrobić. Już. Dobra, starcie jeszcze na 1000? Dobra.
This is so exciting about your book. It's made into a series. Excited. I'm very, very excited about it. Into a television series. And it's very exciting to be part of the aspect of the story and way of delivering stories to audiences. That's very cool. And it'd be awesome if you play any of the highlights of the show or anything like that. But I really want to talk about what you found when you were in prison, because I'm sure that there are many people who have one notion of how it is. And you actually got to experience that firsthand, that you were probably a very unlikely candidate. You'd be very personally supporting to something.
I think that one of the things that brings some audiences to your book is this idea of the shadow horror. Why they're there. My own experience, you know,
Właśnie się pozbyć wszystkich medewaków.
why they're there, and also what happens to them when they are behind bars. And so this is because the reality is much more complex and frankly much more interesting than the conventional wisdom about prisons and prisoners.
Now, give us just a little taste of what your life was like before you went to prison, and give us just a little hint of how you ended up there.
Before I went to prison, in my 20s and 30s, I was much like, any other sort of working professional. I worked in communications. I worked for a production company for a while in California. I worked as a creative director for web services firms that built websites and did online marketing. And that was really interesting, dynamic work. I was sent to prison for a 10-year-old offense. They were in I was in my very early 20s. And a lot of people, young couples, don't really understand the consequences of their actions very quickly. Either the consequences to themselves or the impact that their actions have on other people. Unfortunately, the way the criminal justice system works, sometimes you send people to very long periods of time for nonviolent offenses. And that takes them out themselves, how are they going to provide themselves as a family. So, you know, for me, I had a really well-established professional career and a big skill set that I was still going to need to draw on. I also had an education and all that. Never used traditionally how long I be locked up. So I'm very, very fortunate in that respect. The other thing I had to draw on was a network. A network of friends, of families, of colleagues who were still, standing by very consequences, very from their families and friends. Exactly. But not only my family, but also, my former coworkers. For example, like any wrote letters to a judge. So, I came home from prison, those relationships still hold strong. So those things are really, really important in terms of my success coming home. Just simple success of, being able to complete my probation and, getting a job, exactly, and just, staying on the straight and narrow.
Right. So talk about how that's different from what you saw from most of your fellow inmates that were there.
So one of the things that was most important when I was in prison was the recognition that the things that I had in common with the other women who I was locked up with were much more important than the things that made us different. But there were really important differences. I had education, high school education and a private college. I had a long-standing professional experience.
Przypadek. Dobra, przypadek odbudowana już.
So GED programs are frequently required in prison.
Required, but sometimes not available. And you mentioned in the book, poorly staffed.
Required, but not always available, or not always very good. So, that educational piece is really missing for a lot of folks who are in the criminal justice system. And that was a big difference between me and many other women is that they had not as many educational opportunities as I have had in my life. The other truth is that a huge number of people in prison, are because of the, underground economies or economies.
Ładnie.
Drug trade or, a variety of
And often due to the fact that they don't have skills and other opportunities to earn a livable wage.
Exactly. So when they come home from prison, it's very clear that they
No, dobrze
need to
byli,
be able to live a
skubający.
law-abiding life in order to
Dobra, ja idę zapalić, Andrzejku.
But the pathway is steams.
Dobra, ja tutaj sobie zapiszę jako dobry meczek. Tak?
Well, I think your book does an amazing job of pointing out that it really is a vicious cycle. And what comes out is usually what goes in with a little bit taken away or something, there's something that's not there when you come out. And so if you're lucky, you're able to somewhat go back to the skills and rely on the skills that you had, but there's a little bit of an edge there that you have to try to get over.
Że już jest po 10.
No tak samo metro wolne, Misza.
So let's say someone gets sent to prison for 10 years, there's all kinds of things that happen in the outside world, and the world keeps moving forward. That folks sort of
Wiesz, że ci zostawiałem
spend
wczoraj
time.
przeciwnika, żeby spróbował.
When they went in, there were no
Gdzie
cell
10
phones.
minut.
Nie, dormy, bo...
Exactly. So really, initially, there would be women who would be really nervous about email and computers and cell phones even, because those things were not things that they were familiar with when they were sent to prison. So for one thing, there's the lost time, but also there are very formidable formal barriers to people who come home from prison and for jail in terms of prohibitions against where they can live and their freedom of movement even after they've completed their sentence, and things like employment are very, very formidable stumbling blocks.
But let's turn for a minute to what it is that
proszę do
is
mnie
accessible to
przyjechać.
people when they're in
Moje zadanie
prison.
było teraz.
There are some folks out there who think that
Masz
they
powiedzieć,
are
że
supporting people in prison and they are going to the gym all day and living this in the lap of luxury, and why should our tax dollars go to support these people who have done a wrong against society?
Muszę znaleźć
book
rękawiczki,
points out
bo nie wiem co za marzą.
It's not like that.
Nie?
And
Fajnie, masz teraz
certainly
zajęcie.
when you go to
Musisz
the,
skompletować wszystko, ja ci nie puszczę rozkazu do
county
kończę.
level correctional facilities and local facilities when you were in
Yeah, tak.
Chicago,
Ale sobie nie wyważą,
that there
żeby
were
mieć się
really
stał.
no resources and nothing
Zresztą
for
tutaj
people
trzeba
to
jeść
do
z kasą.
there. Just talk
Mhm.
about that
Yeah.
a little bit and what they're actually getting, what they have,
Ja nie mówię o
resources
nacholownikach
to
i tak
which they
dalej,
have
że biorą
access
jakąś
in
kamizelkę
order
pod
to
formą,
try
no to
to
wiesz,
keep
są teraz takie fajne.
Life in prison is a life of scarcity. So I think that there is a perception sometimes that there is a lot of rehabilitative programming that takes place behind prison walls. My own experience is that that is rarely the case. So in my experience, for example, you know, in Danbury, you know, a typical day would include a 6 a.m. wake-up call, and at 7 a.m., you know, after breakfast, you would head to your prison job. These jobs were typically, you know, manual labor, so it's a prison full of women.
and which not everyone could get, right?
Well,
They had to have a waiting period to
it
get the job.
varied, it depended. Some of the jobs that were most desirable included, you know, jobs that had a higher skill set. Those were actually very hard to get. But most of the jobs were things like, you know, working as an orderly, cleaning the buildings. I worked as an electrician and as a construction worker. And, you know, here's the thing, I learned a lot in the course of that work. Not that transferable or valuable, actually, in terms of me coming home. So it's great that women, you know, were potentially learning how to be plumbers and how to be construction workers and how to be electricians. Because the prisoners do all of the maintenance of the prisons. But in the case of female prisoners, as an example, there's a certain lack of likelihood that they will go back home and do those jobs.
And so there's union, let's say.
Right, and there's certainly no formal relationships, for example, with the union to guide those women towards those jobs.
Right.
So there was no workforce development or work skill development that took place within the federal system that I saw at all.
Right.
That doesn't mean it doesn't happen in any prison, but it certainly doesn't happen the way that some folks imagine.
And you were asked oftentimes if you could read. People would say, can you read?
Yes.
And so you would be put on certain jobs because you could read. But again, if someone is going in without high reading levels and high skills, they were almost relegated to certain positions even within the prison system.